there. So, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are, whenever you're able to tune into this episode of In Conversation With. My name's Dave Sleet and I'm co-founder of APA Psychological Accreditation. This episode was supposed to be recorded with both myself and Siobhan, APA's CEO, but unfortunately Siobhan is away from the office today. So unfortunately, just left with myself. So I'm going to do my best to make sure that we don't lose anything from this episode. Today, we're going to be talking to Richie. Now, Richie is the co-founder of Mental Health and Life. And this is an organization that APA has been supporting for the last probably about 4 years. And it's something that we are exceedingly proud to do. And when I introduce you to Richie and you hear his story, you'll probably understand why. So without further ado, let me bring the man out of the green room. He's had far too much time with the virtual champagne and canopies. It's embarrassing. So Richie, hi, how are you doing?
Hello. Thank you so much for that lovely introduction, Dave. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to tell you a bit about who I am now, who I was before, and then I'm going to meet it in the middle to explain to you how I got here, doing what I'm doing, from doing something completely different from before.
And this is kind of, it answers the question kind of beautifully as to why a collaboration with a psychological accreditation service in a way that we couldn't have done it any other way. And I really appreciate your time to be able to do this. So I'm going to hand the mic to you and just let people know your story.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Dave. So my name is Richie Perera. I'm the founder of Mental Health for Life, and I've been delivering mental health first aid courses for coming up to 5 years now. I also run a few other courses, which I think is really important for life itself. The reason I chose my life to do mental health first aid training is because I don't believe it's just any ordinary training course. I believe it's a manual for life, and I think it's something that everyone should do. And I think it's something that should be taught within the curriculums from the age of 5 years onwards as well. So I do mental health first aid training. I also deliver suicide first aid, race equity training, mental health skills for managers courses as well. I'll do that for Newco, Mental Health First Aid England as well. So why am I able to do such things? Well, prior to this work, I was formerly the CEO of the London Makeup School and London Hair Academy in Shoreditch, which I ran for 12 years. I'm an award-winning CEO. I consult for Guidepoint Global, and I'm also an executive contributor for Brains magazine as well. I used to be in London, East London, Newham, West Ham United, of course, and I moved to Liverpool about 5 years ago. And I live and work in Liverpool now with my wife. In Liverpool, I also do work around wellbeing and mental health as well. I sit as the deputy chair on the board of trustees at Unity Theatre in Liverpool, where I advise the board on people management and wellbeing as well. I'm also author of the groundbreaking book, Managing People in the New Normal. I wrote this book after winning awards as a CEO, and I didn't really know much about mental health and well-being, to be honest with you, even though I won the Investors in People Manager of the Year award in 2018, which was to do with people management. But I didn't need common sense dictated to me that I knew that if people in my organization was happy, naturally it's going to make my business boom, and that's exactly what happened. So Investors in People made me Manager of the Year in 2018, not an award they give away, so I'm really proud of that achievement. However, in 2019, I started to have some issues with sleep. So after several, couple of terrible doctor's appointments, sorry to say, but, we are at a third world level when it comes to mental health care in the UK. Some couple of terrible appointments in London, but then when I moved to Liverpool, I had a really good doctor. I was eventually, after a series of appointments, diagnosed with severe mixed depression and anxiety disorder, and I had to be written off for over a year to recover. Really shocking for me, because I come from a generation where, I'm 45 years old. We were just told to be a man, pull up our socks and get on with it our whole life. Okay. Ironically, I found now that I am very literate in mental health. We, the Gen X generation and the Boomer generation, we're so disconnected from mental health. But the highest rates of suicide happen for men between 40 to 50 years old, and women between 45 to 50 years old. And I get a lot of people telling me, oh, what is it with these young people and mental health? It's like these lazy millennials need a day off or some things. They'll use any excuse. And my response to that is, but the suicide rates, it's us. So maybe we should be listening to these young people. But anyway, so I went from a high-flying, highly paid CEO to a person who struggled to put an email together, and my entire recovery process took about 18 months. At the time, I didn't know how my mental health worked, how to look after it. Unfortunately, nor did the people around me. It was London, it was Shoreditch. Whether it's a good week or a bad week, guess what? We went out drinking, and that's supposed to sort out all our issues. That's millions of people around the country do, and alcohol is destroying this country at the moment. I was one of those people that believed mental health issues were for weak people. I was a strong person, so I never have to worry about all that. So the diagnosis and how serious it was did knock me for six. Okay, and that's really what was shocking as well. That was like, me? Are you sure I've got depression? Absolutely not. Why do I feel like someone is stamping on my chest and standing on my chest when I'm trying to sleep at night? That's not depression. I can't get that. I'm immune from all of that. So it took me months to even accept my diagnosis. That's how far gone and illiterate I was when it comes to mental health. So as I started getting better, I started to look at mental health more and really looked at what happened to me, because it was absolutely shocking to me what happened to me. That, at one point I was suicidal. So, and at the time when I was suicidal, I didn't realize that I don't want to be here anymore. And how am I going to cope with this? Or how am I going to get that done again? I didn't realize all of that was suicidal ideation. I thought they were just normal thoughts running through my brain, you know? So when I started getting better, I looked at exactly what happened to me and I thought, what is the root cause of what happened to me? And I realized the root cause of what happened to me was simply, I was not mentally literate. I didn't know the basics of what I needed to do to look after myself as a person. And that's why I decided to get into mental health first aid, because mental health first aid isn't a what we have in the UK is a reactive approach to mental health. We wait till things go wrong and then we get help. Okay. What mental health first aid does is trains you. So that's why I say it's a manual for life. It trains you on how to look after yourself. I always tell people, and this takes, I say a lot of things that take people out of their comfort zones. But the thing about the comfort zone is where dreams go to die. If you're one of those people that's always living in the comfort zone and trying to achieve a place that you're in the comfort zone, it's the worst zone you can ever be in. Okay. Not only is the comfort zone where your dreams go to die, it's also where your health goes to die as well. So we need to be really careful with that. If you're uncomfortable, it's a better place to be. Okay. So as I looked into mental health more, I realized that mental health first aid is at the foreground, at the front line of prevention and self-care. As I said, we have a reactive approach, and what mental health does is ask you to look at yourself and the way you're living your life to say, what are you responsible for? Okay, so it's all about prevention and intervention. There's no need, like many people in the UK go through depression for 10 years without getting help. I always say when I do my training courses, there's a big difference between living and living happy, healthy, and well. Massive. And too many of us are just living. Okay. And I also say these things. I said, if something goes wrong with your health and well-being, you've only got yourself to blame. Okay. And people don't like that.
And
People
and
don't like
and
that.
and this kind of stems from our education system, our social structures, our statutory infrastructures, as well as our approach to mental health connectivity within all of those.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more, And the sad thing I find is when I do my training courses and I'm telling people in their 40s, 50s, 60s, they're like, why didn't I know this from school? I mean, if you take the statistic, 50% of all mental health issues are developed before the age of 14. Why isn't it in the curriculum? Because if our children can learn English, science, and maths, they can damn sure learn about mental health. You know,
And this is the thing.
it's ridiculous. It's like I'm living in a parallel universe. Yeah.
Yeah, I can remember many years ago, a martial arts instructor said to me, if you can control your breathing, you can control your life. Right?
Yeah.
I must have been about 12 and I thought he was a twit. Right?
And
because
he's
there
very
was
right.
nothing else around that reinforced that.
Mm,
Right. And it was a really tough lesson in learning how to engage the self-awareness before expecting the external world to change.
yeah.
And when you look at what APA does now, that very lesson from nearly 30 plus years ago is still very, very relevant in
Yeah.
everything that happens now. And I'm
Oh,
sure my instructor, rest his soul, would kind of go, yeah, told you.
yeah. Do you know what? I couldn't agree more. I have a boxing background. In fact, I've got a boxing match coming up on the 23rd of March. I'm boxing for charity to raise money for charity, me and my wife. So I still box now. I'm 45 and I love a little fight. I am from East London, so it's in our DNA. So I've been boxing all my life. My cousin was Wadi Camacho, who was a Commonwealth Cruiserweight champion as well. So it's always been in our family. And I remember what my boxing coach once said to me. He goes, the deepest form of self-love and self-care you can have is discipline. And I thought, you just want me to do 100 more sit-ups, right?
Yeah, we always found an excuse. I think this is the
Yeah,
same for all sports people, and for anyone
yeah,
that's out there that's connected to sport. And some people will know that we're heavily supporting Fatima Whitbread and her Fatima's UK campaign.
Mhm,
Um, so there's an awful lot of conversation around the connectivity of sport, the power of sport within APA at the moment.
mhm,
But as someone who started my coaching career as a sports coach,
mhm,
we use all of the same techniques. We use all of the same anchor points for the coaching development in sport as there is in psychology. And
yeah,
I can remember being told by an Olympian, British Olympian. I'm not going to name her because that's just name dropping for the sake of it. Um, you cannot appreciate what it is like to win until you've understood the pain of losing.
yeah, yeah,
Right, and it stuck with me. It was my retirement time trial at Crystal Palace, and I had had years of just coming across the line in front of others.
yeah.
And until I
How
lost,
frustrating that was. Yeah.
you I mean, I was lucky. I had some amazing coaches, and Belgrave Harriers, all credit to them, they did keep me on level ground. But and my running partners and training partners, and you know for a window of an opportunity, I was part of the coaching team that supported a European champion.
Mm,
Okay.
yeah.
And I learned an awful lot about the psychology in sport at that point.
Yeah. So this is the thing, sports, because mental and physical health are so connected. Sports brings a lot into our lives, and I'm going to speak about that in a moment. Just moving your body.
Yeah.
But as I was saying, when my coach said that, I thought, you just want me to do 100 more sit-ups, okay? But he said something. He goes, discipline is the deepest form of self-love and self-care you can have. And he said, do you know why? And I said, no, I don't know why. As I was saying, I thought you want me to do another 100 sit-ups. Yeah, that's all. I'm in pain. I can't even do 10. You want me to do what you want me to do. That's all the stuff going on through my head. I was fighting it. And he said, it's because discipline is about doing something you don't like right now so you can feel good about something later on, or you can do it better later on. And that's the connection. And that's why I said people don't like to get out of their comfort zones when it comes to health and well-being, because people would rather sit on their sofa depressed than saying, well, do you know what? I need to eat right, sleep right. I need to stop watching TV. I need to get to bed on time. Okay. I need to digitally detox and I need to get active. I don't want to do all that
Yeah.
because
I
I
want
want
the
to find
outcome, but I
another.
don't want the
Yeah,
work.
I don't want to do all the stuff I need to do to make myself better. Okay. But I want change.
Yeah.
Okay. And that's what people lack. People lack discipline and people don't want to get out of their comfort zone,
And this
But
is and
before,
this is where the work that you do ties so beautifully with the work that APA does. And you the whole kind of synergy between the understanding of that personal responsibility matched with the support in a working environment, paired up with the support of external input where it's needed. If you've got all of those three elements working, ultimately you get to a point where you don't need all three. And that is where I think when Siobhan and I first started to engage with you and the team, it was such a beautiful synergy that it made sense to build that, to keep that support running, and to kind of get to a point where we can have this conversation and share with the world that the work that's being done in the corporate arena, that's a starting point.
Yeah.
And the baseline that you guys are laying down for so many people over the last 5 years has been phenomenal. And kudos to you and the team for that.
Yeah, because look, I mean, my life, the last 15, 18 years, that's my life has been in those management corporate roles. My expertise is in mental health, first aid, people management, HR, and mental health in the workplace. Okay. And what I've realized is, what I always say this to people, that if we can get mental health right in the workplace, it's naturally going to transition to every other part of our life. But so why do I say in the workplace? Because what I know, it's awful thing to say, all right, but we spend most of our active and most important hours at work. Okay, we're tired in the morning when we're going to work, so it's not our most vibrant hours, should I say. Then when we're coming back from work, we're tired and we just want to go to sleep. Okay, so our most active, most human time is spent at work. Okay, so that's why if we can get mental health right in the workplace, it will naturally transition down to every other areas of our lives, because you don't hang up your mental health on your coat rack with your jacket, do your work and pick it back up on the way out. It goes everywhere with you. And when you look at certain populations, certain marginalized communities, Black people, people of color, LGBTQ plus communities, neurodiversity, people with neurodiversity issues, okay, especially when it comes to people of color, okay, they don't really have within their homes that safe environment to talk about mental health. Okay, because there's so much stigma attached from these cultures around mental health. So a person of color might be going through something and they have absolutely no one within their own home to talk about it. So so for them, it's only the workplace, and that's just one small facet of the positives of having a workplace, let alone all the data and the money. The thing about the workplaces is you can tell bosses and CEOs and employers, it's just a nice thing to do to look after your staff mentally. They don't care about all that. But as soon as you start telling them, look, it costs employers 56 billion a year at the moment due to mental health issues, their ears start to prick up, because there's money attached to it. Okay. We are losing billions right now. Billions. Okay. Because people are not getting mental health in the workplace right. And it's ridiculous.
These are fundamental building blocks to life.
Yeah.
And like you said, over the years, we've kind of disconnected from the psychological component of the human experience.
Yeah.
We've excelled physically, life expectancy through the roof.
We're living longer, but we're sadder, Dave. That's the issue.
And we've got more. This is what surprised me when I was looking at all of this. Right, we have more knowledge about healthy foods, healthy living, mental awareness, more access than ever to that knowledge and understanding. Right, yet we are unhealthier than ever before. We are choosing negative paths of support more frequently.
Yes.
And
we're looking for external sources.
Exactly. Okay. And everything comes down to that external kind of point of contact.
Look, I have this thing I call the holy quaternity of mental health. I went St. Bonaventure's, so Roman Catholic school, where it is, it's basically the bottom of your road, right? I went St. Bon's, okay? Right. So we have the Holy Trinity, Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit. In mental health, I have 4 things that I call the holy quaternity of mental health. Okay. Without getting these 4 things right, you simply cannot be healthy. Okay. 99% of people, I would say 100%, I've been doing this training now and passing this information on to people for 5 years. Nobody knows the most basic stuff to look after themselves. What people are looking for is a magic wand or a battering ram, as you said, and they want to build their health and well-being from the roof down. It's got to be my wife's fault, the government's fault, my employer's fault. No, it's not. Okay. For example, if you ask the average person, do you know what serotonin is? Most people know it's your happy hormone. Without your serotonin, you simply can't be happy. It's as simple as that.
Yeah,
No matter
and
what
nobody
you
can
do,
give it to you.
nobody can give it to you. It's producing your body. When I ask most people, where is 90% of your serotonin produced? Do you know what they say to me, Dave? They say the brain. They say the liver. Okay. People don't even understand that 90% of your serotonin and 70% of your immune system is based in your gut. You are what you eat.
Yeah.
Okay. If you want true health and well-being, you got to start with your food.
Yeah.
Okay.
You are what you eat.
Yeah, literally. So you cannot
these
be
all
happy.
these old, they're termed as old-fashioned kind of analogies and everything else, right? Or sayings,
It's the old-fashioned ones
right?
that actually work. So
Yeah.
if you look at the foods that we've been sold, okay, Kellogg's cornflakes was the people that came up with your most important meal of the day. Okay, it's your breakfast. It's not, so they can sell your bowl of sugar.
Yeah.
Okay, if your first meal of the day should be 6 to 8 hours after you wake up, because then you go into autophagy through fasting, which literally kills off cancerous cells within your body and unhealthy cells and produces better, healthier cells. People don't know this basic stuff. So
Yeah.
we wake up and we eat to time. Okay, it's the morning now. Let's get some cereal. It's lunchtime. Let's go. You're not even hungry. You're just eating for the sake of it. And if
Yeah.
you look around, I don't want to sound like a conspiracy theorist here, but look, go into your cupboards, and anyone listening to this podcast, okay, go into your cupboards and have a look at how much salt is in every single thing in your kitchen. Go and pick up your bread and look at that back of the packet for your slice of bread and ask yourself, why does this slice of bread have this much sugar in it? And if you're not aware, sugar, depending on how it's processed, is 5 to 8 times more addictive than cocaine. So when you're rushing off for your cup of coffee and your tea, you're not going for your caffeine hit, you're going for your sugar hit. And sugar, it basically acts as a poison within your body. Everything that we are sold in the supermarkets is designed to kill us. Okay.
Yeah.
When I ask people, is 70% of your food raw? They look at me like I'm asking them to eat raw meat or something. No, I'm not. Is 70% of your meats, salads and vegetables and fruits and nuts, is it raw food? Because people don't know that basically, if any food that you're eating has more than 5 ingredients in it, it's ultra processed and it's killing you. Okay. People don't know this basic stuff. And what do? Lunchtime, let's rip out something from a plastic packet and let's eat that. The most important thing you're supposed to be doing for yourself, we rip it out of a packet all the time.
Yeah. And this is where, we look at the way the food industry has kind of taken over and dominated the social psyche of the health food. We'll take sugars down, but we're going to put salts and additives up, because otherwise it doesn't taste like what you're used to. And it's like we're switching one drug with another.
Yeah.
And the fact that the pharmaceutical industry is then making billions a day on balancing out the impact of the food industry.
Yeah. So now you brought that up, I need to say something really important, and this is some really important information. I am meeting a lot of people that somehow believe that antidepressants and medications for mental health issues resolve mental health issues. For anyone that's listening, that's an absolute lie. Okay, so let me explain to you the worst case scenario. I'm regularly coming across people that have been antidepressants for 6, 7 years, and it's shocking. The worst case scenario that I had was a lady who was diagnosed with depression at 15, and then when she was 30 and she's still taking her antidepressant, she just came to realization, why the hell am I on antidepressant drugs 15 years later? Okay, what you must understand is this. Okay, there is no antidepressants that sorts out mental health issues. They level out the chemicals in your brain as a part of your recovery process. If you have been on antidepressants for any time over a year, that's already too long. You need to be checking in with your doctor, every 6 months, ask him, when am I going to come off this? Because at some certain antidepressants, depending on what you're taking, it's as addictive as cocaine. You don't get the euphoria from it, but your body gets addicted to it and it becomes a crutch. Okay.
Yeah.
A word that lady said to me, she said to me, I realized I've been taking antidepressants for 12 years longer than I had to. And I realized that I never had a doctor in the first place. All I had was a drug dealer. Okay, so you must never be a passive participant in your antidepressants. Okay, every 6 months you need to check in and say, when am I going to come off this, and more importantly, what more do I have to do myself to safely come off these antidepressants? But
that's the
unfortunately,
key, isn't
Dave,
it?
yeah,
It's that proactive engagement with our own health. And
that's the biggest thing that's lacking.
Yeah, and when we have a health service that, for all intents and purposes, and I'm not in any way knocking the fact that, one, we have a health service. The health service was designed for a purpose, for a role that has exploded over the years beyond what it was designed for. The health service was not designed as a catch-all for everything, for absolutely everyone. That's not what it was there for. It was there for emergency, it was there for maternity, it was there for end of life, and it was there for chronic care for those in need. That's it. They were the pillars of the NHS. What we've got is a situation where corporations have dominated the political spectrum in order to make the money.
Absolutely.
And a population that has reduced in its knowledge and its engagement of what all of that means for them as individuals.
Absolutely. Do you remember earlier on, Dave, you said it's that old school stuff that, we just brush off. Here's another one, okay? Every human being, if you're unaware, needs 8 solid hours of sleep. Do you know why we need 8 solid hours of sleep? Okay. The first 4 hours, we go into a state called deep sleep. Okay. It literally regenerates our physical body, our bones, our muscles, our tendons, and all of that. The next 4 hours, we go into a state called REM sleep. Okay. Which is the one that regenerates our brain, the most complex object in the universe, our mental health and our minds. Okay. Now, according to circadian rhythms, every hour before 12, it's worth 2. So remember the old saying, early to bed, early to rise will be very wise. Remember these teachers used to say that? You won't just be wise, you'll also be very wise. Okay, so
your synapses are firing at 100% when they've got the capacity to fire at 100%.
Yeah, exactly. So when I asked the average person, so now you know this, if you didn't know these statistics, what does that mean to you practically? Okay, that means you should be in bed snoring by 10 o'clock. Are you? Like, how is anybody? And then the one
Channel 5 is putting the best movies on at 10 o'clock.
Yeah, they're binge watching Netflix when they should be asleep. Our body's constantly talking to us. It's telling us what it needs, but we choose to ignore it.
Yeah.
And that's why we have so much issues here in the UK.
And something that strikes me with the entire conversation around the connectivity of health, physical and psychological, is that pre-1939, our diet was many, many times healthier than it is now.
Do you know why that was?
It was fat-based.
No, it was, but do you know what the main cause of that is? Because our soil wasn't degraded. We have to eat 9 apples now to have the same nutrients as 1 apple from the 1920s, Dave.
And this is
so we're in trouble.
This is my point.
We're in a lot of trouble.
The entire ecosystem has been eroded away from that healthy engagement. Our knowledge has been groomed away from that healthy engagement. And the work that you do in the corporate setting, and not wanting for anyone to watch this and go, Richie and Dee are talking about food and the woes of the sector in relation to mental health. That's a fraction of what is the awareness that needs to come forward.
So we're not trying to do that. What we're trying to do is, okay, your foundation starts with you. You can't change your home mental health or physical health and well-being, your social life, your workplace. It starts with you as a human being. Okay, you can't build health and well-being framework for your life, okay, from the roof down. It starts with you. There are certain things you need to do every single day to make sure you're in a good place, okay, that no one else can help you with. Okay. And that's the thing that a lot of people are missing. So before we even start talking about how can we get well-being and health and well-being right in any area of our lives, work, home, social life, whatever it is, okay, first we have to ask ourselves, what am I doing to be the healthiest version of ourselves? Because your workplace could have the most, I know I work with certain workplaces that has amazing stuff there for your health and well-being. But if you're binge drinking, if you're eating takeaways Monday to Friday, binge watching Netflix, and you spend the entire weekend down the pub drinking, it doesn't matter what your workplace is offering because you're not right.
Yeah.
And
And
that's
it's
the
that
education.
connectivity, isn't it?
It's that
And
it starts from there. It
yeah.
starts from there, nowhere else.
So when we look at the kind of the ecosystem starts with us, then the ecosystem in the workplace. And one of the things that you pointed out is how the workplace can be that only safe space for those conversations. If the workplace is got the right ecosystem itself. One of the things that we highlighted quite heavily at the beginning of the lockdowns during the pandemic was that the workspace was, for so many people, their only safe haven.
Yes, and still is now, especially with hybrid working.
Right. And to take away that understanding of the safe space that the workplace provides is to belittle the value of that engagement. Right. And when we work on our selection, induction, and retention packages, we're supporting those employers to get that understanding and that awareness in from pre-selection. Because an employer who can support the community that works in that field, whatever it might be, is going to lead that workspace. And if you can upskill that awareness into the staff that are going to come back to you at some point, because you're the best ecosystem in your field, whether you employ them at that first opportunity or you employ them in 6 months or 6 years' time, if you've given them that starting point, that awareness, they're going to be a damn sight better place when they come back to you for that next time round.
Yeah, and that's not an opinion. That's a data-driven fact.
Yeah.
Okay. What frustrates me is that if you look at even the economy, the UK economy, okay, it amazes me that we were doing so well up until the pandemic. But when you look at the data on mental health, we still had a broken workforce. And it asks us the question, hold on, if we had a happy, healthy, flourishing workforce, just how much more further could, what is the true potential of happy human beings? We've never realized that here in the UK.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's why I get frustrated when I hear the government saying, oh, we're going to do tax breaks for big companies so they'll invest in our economy. They just don't make the connection. The true the true health of an economy and how much is investable by anyone, okay, depends on the health of the workforce. Yeah. Okay. And that comes down to organizational stuff as well. Okay. Happy, healthy people equals a happy, healthy organization. Okay.
And
because
that touches the bottom line.
Yeah, so because we've gone generations, we've had, do you know what? We're doing okay. We're making a little bit of profit, so we don't have to worry about all that. But they haven't stopped to think, hold on, if people were happy, if we was to spend some of those profits to do all this and get people really happy and healthy, how much more money, if it's all about money, how much more money can we make? They don't make the connection. Yeah. It's all about keep whipping them and see if we can make more profits.
Yeah, I mean, they didn't even use whips to build the pyramids. I mean, come on, and one of the things that has struck me and has struck me for a long time is something that Richard Branson has said pretty much all of Virgin's career.
Yeah.
Okay. Treat your staff right so that they can leave, and treat them better so they don't.
Yeah.
And it's something that when I was researching the psychological hive mindset, not a shameful plug in any way, shape, or form, due to be released later this spring. What struck me was the companies that are the most successful do all of the things that you and I have talked about, and all of the things that Siobhan has worked on with APA to be in place for professionals.
Mm-hmm.
But they do it almost subconsciously.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It's just what they do. They
Mm-hmm.
don't have to be told about it. They don't have to be kind of re-educated as to its importance. It just gets done.
Yes,
And
because
it's
those
such a
organizations,
difference.
what I've discovered as a consultant is that those organizations, they have a well-being department, okay, that they treat as an actually functioning and important part of their work. Okay. Whereas these well-being departments, and I don't like to use the word HR because HR is completely different from well-being. Okay. And they need to be separated. Everyone plums everything. Usually, if you say to someone HR, they get worried, I'm going to get a disciplinary. Okay. Forget HR. HR is something completely different. Okay. I know organizations that have a separate well-being. It's all about people management. Okay. And they put it really high on the agenda because they realize if we keep people happy, okay, people are going to stay. Now, the thing about this is, okay, even organization and the people that have been doing it organically, yes, but still there's some changes coming that I believe that certain organizations don't see. And that change is Gen Zs, okay? Gen Zs are already making the news, okay? Most of them are sacked within 1 month of employment because employers just find that employers and managers find them the most difficult generation to work with. Now, it poses two questions, okay? Is it solely the Gen Z's fault? Or is it that organizations can't change with the times? Okay, because Gen Zs are a completely different generation to everyone that came before them. And I'll tell you why. I'm 45 years old. I was told, go to school, do well, go to uni, get a good job. You'll get a good job, you'll buy a house, you'll have a family. That was all actually true back in the 90s and the 80s. Okay, now, if you're to follow that, Gen Zs are not going to leave their mum's house till 50, 60 years old.
Yeah.
Okay, so
And
Gen Z see work as something they do on the side of life rather than a major part of their life. And that's why if you look around every sector out there, there's retention and recruitment issues. And the elephant in the room is Gen Zs are looking for organizations that's going to treat them with dignity and as a human being and put their well-being as #1 priority. But organizations and managers don't see that. Don't know if it's an age thing, generational thing. And then they're wondering why can't we get people? Why can't we keep them on board?
yeah. And that's why I think what you
And
bring to the
sorry,
table.
before you say anything, Dave, and I say I have a simple answer to that. It's because you have dinosaurs in management. And I know that doesn't fit well. So it doesn't sit well with me, but that's the truth. You have dinosaurs in your management.
And the thing with organizations that struggle with flexibility in their infrastructure is those dinosaurs will become crude oil.
Yeah. The
They
problem
ain't
is,
going to be seen until someone digs it out.
yeah, the problem we have is we're living in an entirely new world, okay? And people that are there, the managers that have been in their positions for decades, okay, are not willing to unlearn anything. They already think they know it all, and that's a huge problem. Okay, in the world that we live in, as Einstein said, okay, when you stop learning, you start dying. Einstein said that. But we have many people in really important positions who believe they've been there so long that they know everything that's going on. Okay, the Latin word for manager is the word manus. Okay, it means hand or helping hand. It's very simple for any organization out there. Look at your managers and ask yourself, are they helping hands? If they're not, you have a management issue in your organization. It's not rocket science, this stuff.
Yeah. And this is where I think the beauty of the synergy between what you do and what APA does really comes to the fore, and it complements each other because of the fact, sorry, that we are coming at this from that helping hand approach.
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
it's beautiful when it works, and it's functional when it works, and it is life-changing for everyone that experiences it.
Absolutely. And you know what it is, Dave? It's not a decision that organizations to make. That decision has already been made, especially by the Gen Z generation, who's the future of all organizations. That decision's been made. I want you to look after me as a human being. If you're not going to do that, I will not work for you.
Yeah. And this is where Apple works on getting to that first point of the individual going, I'm going to look after me because I have to be the starting point.
Yeah.
And the therapeutic process for those that need that additional support to process experiences, good, bad, and indifferent, make a difference in solidifying the ground for those foundations.
And that's critical. That's so critical. Okay. And let me tell you why. A lot of the time, due to stigma associated with mental health, people don't want to actually go and talk internally. Oh, what are they going to say if I tell them I've got a depression, or I need a therapist, or blah, blah, blah. Now, what a lot of organizations are doing now to circumnavigate that, they're telling people we have this EAP. If you need therapy, just go get it. But then they're not keeping track. So it's a simple question for organizations. Okay. Half of the adult population in the UK are now on antidepressants. It's the highest use of antidepressants ever recorded in British history. Houston, we have a problem with all kinds of drugs. I'm not even going to get into the illegal drugs, okay? But half the adult population is in the UK is on antidepressants, and it's the highest ever recorded use for young people. Now, if you're an organization, say you're a manager and you manage one person, 5 people, 100 people, 1,000 people, ask yourself this: if you're a manager, how many of the people that you manage do you know it's on antidepressants? And if you don't know the answer to that, how can you possibly think you're managing them to be the best they can be? And the simple answer to that is you're not. You have no connection to some of the most important things in your staff base.
Yeah. I mean, something that some people that are watching may have heard us talk about already in other podcasts is the natural support systems that humans are connected to every single day. The Victorians called this green therapy and blue therapy. Okay. If you can get out and you can see greenery and you can spend time in greenery, you are going to do better than if you don't. If you
Absolutely.
can get out and you can see blue, whether that's the water, whether that's sky, you are going to do better than if you can't.
Dave, I can't, you know, overstate the importance of this, because there are 3 main, and this is the thing, a lot of the time, once again, it comes back down to what are your habits? There are 3 main reasons for the 3 p.m. slump in the workplace in the UK. Okay, that's a lack of taking your breaks properly. Okay, your diet and a lack of exercise. Okay, if you're one of those people that work through your lunches and your breaks, you're actually being a bad employee, because you pay for it later on in the day. It leads to burnout and all kinds of issues. Okay, and if you're a manager that's okay with your staff doing the same, you have an essential area for improvement. Data shows those who completely disconnect on their lunch breaks and their breaks and they go outside, they're more productive when they come back. Okay. Or how many of you in organizations are working at your desk thinking, I need to get this done and I'm being a better employee? You're not.
Yeah.
And another dangerous thing I always hear, oh, you know, John over there, he's always working, he's always on hand, no matter what time of the day it is, he's always at work. John's probably got some real issues going on in his real life and he's burying his head in work so he doesn't have to deal with them. That doesn't make him a good employee. A good work-life balance, knowing how to take your breaks, eating well, staying active. I mean, Dr. Marie Pasinski, is a brain health expert at Harvard Medical School. She said simply getting up every half an hour from your desk improves the connections, new neurons and neurons in your brain and your nervous
you're
system.
forcing blood to go through your
Yeah.
system.
So we're sitting on these chairs, and the basics of we just need to get up every half an hour and just do a circle around our desk. No one knows. Okay. And there's 112% risk of diabetes and a 97% risk of cardiovascular events because we're sitting around all the time.
Yeah.
You know, these basic things are not in the general knowledge of workplaces. Okay, but this should be in the general knowledge of human beings, so you can do it for yourself. Don't wait for your workplace. Don't give your health over to a third party. I always say, Dave, you are the CEO of your life, the boss of your health. Are you making the correct decisions for yourself? So the moment you decide I'm going to work through my lunch, you're not the CEO of your life.
Yeah.
Okay, you just made a bad decision.
Yeah, and you know, I've done consultancy work and gone into organizations where people are sat at their desks and everything else, and you have to find a motivator to get that changed quite often. They need something that says, okay, I can't be here. And the one thing that I've found, as crude as it sounds, is get your employer to do a environmental health check on the computers, the telephones, and the desk surfaces, and then match that against the surfaces in the staff bathrooms,
Mhm.
you will find you are better off
The
eating
keyboards
your
are good.
lunch in the staff bathroom.
Yeah. So this is another thing. Doctors can prescribe nature. You know, we started this part of the conversation on getting blue and the green. Okay.
Mhm.
Doctors can actually prescribe you nature as a part of your recovery for mental health and even to maintain your mental health. So it's really important that if you are lucky enough, even on your lunch break, that you can go for a walk, you've got a park nearby, okay, or you've got a lovely area. It's really important you get out and about, okay? We must be able to disconnect, okay, and we must be in nature, especially if you live in a place like London. It's literally a concrete jungle. On the weekend you need to get out and go and see some trees, even if you go to Epping Forest for a while, okay. It's really important that we connect with nature because that's how we are as human beings, you know. Here's a statistic for you, and you don't fall off your seat when I tell you this, Dave, okay. The average Brit now spends 34 years staring at screens. It's 43 years in America. Okay, hold on to your seat, mate. Okay, so what people are wondering why, if we're spending 34 years staring at screens, okay, I'm not feeling too well. I wonder why.
Yeah.
I
And
wonder why.
I can remember I years ago I went to see a comic in a prep show. You know, where they're working out their routines, everything else. And this particular comic says, you know, my kids have gone from kind of grade C students to grade A students in the last sort of 18 months. And there's only one thing that's changed is I've started putting books in the bathroom. And everyone was like, what? When I am going to make my kids learn no matter what. When they go to the bathroom in their lifetime, they will be there for 4.5 years.
Wow.
That is enough time to do a degree.
Yeah, absolutely.
If you can learn, even if you just do something while you are doing nothing else, you are going to be better off.
Look, Dave, I work with a lot of young people, schools especially. I train them, and I can tell you now, okay, our kids should not be given a screen until they're about 10 years old. Okay. Social media and the internet and screens is doing so much damage to our children right now. Okay. There's mental and psychological damage as well, but there's also the influencing side of it. Okay. If you had your kids sitting in your front room, your 6-year-old son or daughter sitting in your front room, would you leave the front door open and allow anyone off the street to walk in and have a conversation with your child?
You locked the doors at
You,
night, didn't you?
you wouldn't do that. You wouldn't let any Tom, Dick, or Harry walk into your home and have a conversation with your child. So why do you let it happen on the internet?
Yeah.
Okay. 50% of all mental health issues are developed by the age of 14. Okay. We need to go back to nurturing our children and we need to bring them off screens.
Yeah. And it's quite telling that you bring up the screen and young people. It's starting to be promoted by the Steve Jobs family. That
The
you know,
irony of that.
Steve
It's
Jobs
a good place to start.
was the guy that knew, right? He knew exactly what the impact was. Rest his soul, you know, whatever you think about the man, but he did not let his children access to iPhones. There
Yeah,
was a
and
reason for
he's the
that.
creator. So imagine that.
He knew.
He knew.
At the beginning of mobile phone technology and smartphones, contracts could only be signed by an adult, and they had clauses in them that specified they were only for the use of an adult.
Yeah. I remember. I was 18 when mobile phones came out. You had to be over 18 to get one. I had to get my mum
Right.
to get one.
Because the system knew.
Yeah.
Then the system got greedy. Then parents got lazy.
Yeah.
Then everything erupted. And now you've realized that your kids are actually safer going and playing in the park than they are playing in their bedroom.
Well, what we have here at the moment is we have a highly sugared up generation of children who are not active enough. They're all on computer games. We played out, Dave. Remember, we tell our mum we're
Yeah,
not going to go
curfew was
first.
when the street light came on.
Yeah, so we tell our mum we're not going to go past the third tree on the road and we're 5 miles away, but we come back on time, the time she said, you know. So that's the kind of stuff we used to do. We were active, we come from an active generation, but now our children are loaded up with sugar, okay, and they're sitting around playing computer games, you know, and people wonder what, I mean, when I was at school, they used to call it ADHD and stuff. They used to call it hyperactivity, that it was the hyperactive kids. There was about 3 in the whole school. Okay, now 20 to 30% of children in schools have ADHD, and no one wants to discuss sugar intake and make that connection. You know, and
And there's
doctors are immediately giving these kids drugs.
yeah, and this is where the pharmaceutical industry and the DSM system really shows itself.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
most people don't realize DSM, the Diagnostic System Manual, is commissioned by the pharmaceutical industry.
yeah,
This is the drugs company telling doctors how to prescribe drugs for psychological issues.
yeah.
If a doctor is using the DSM to diagnose and to prescribe anything to do with psychology, a personal view, they don't know what they're talking about.
And I've experienced that on several occasions with my own health, Dave.
And likewise. But
Yeah.
when we look at GPs modular training for mental health awareness, in most cases, it's less than 6 hours in 4 years.
Yeah, I think that, don't quote me on this, but I think there's a statistic saying around 70% of GPs in the UK are not actually mental health trained, meaning how to. So, for example, you know, a GP should be checking all, I mean, they should be checking your mental health history, your, you know, your family history of mental health, how you live, what you eat, what you work for before prescribing medication. So, on that topic, Dave, you know, and that's why I need people to understand that self-care is so important as we go up the ladder of how we're going to get mental health right. It's just I didn't, when I fell ill in 2019, I hadn't been to the doctor for 8 years because I was just one of the men that didn't go to the doctor. So when I did go to the doctor, I thought they're going to give me some time. I've not been here for 8 years. So I sat down and I said to the doctor, sorry, I don't know what's going on with me. I've not really been able to sleep for the last 15 days. And then I started telling him all the stuff that was going on in my life. And these were his exact words. Okay, Glen Road Medical Center, Plaistow, E13. The doctor said to me, can I stop you right there, Mr. Perera? I can only deal with one thing at a time. I said, okay. He goes, what is your most pressing issue right now? Okay. I said, I cannot sleep. He goes, no problem. He picked up his pen and pad and he wrote me out something called Zopiclone, which is sleeping tablets. He prescribed me enough sleeping tablets while I was having suicidal ideation for me to go home and kill myself that day. Okay. And that's when I walked out of there thinking, knowing that it's not the NHS's fault. Okay. They've been cuts for 12, 14 years now. They've brought it to its knees. Okay. And which is sad because we're still one of the richest nations on the planet. And you can tell a lot by the leadership of a country simply by looking at its healthcare system. Okay. But I realized that, okay, there is no care in healthcare anymore. And now I'm coming across it more and more because of the sector I'm working in. We're simply at a third world level. And it's not the NHS's fault, like I said. And I realized I walked out of there and I thought, if I'm going to follow this man's advice, and especially I need to get out of London, okay, I might not be here next week. And the funny thing about that, Dave, here's the thing, okay, over the last 3 years, I mean, I was going through suicidal ideation, okay, and just under 6,000 people in the UK take their own lives every year because of this. Where I was at that time, April 2019. Since my recovery, okay, I've got married. Okay. I had 2 granddaughters. I wrote a book. Okay. Some of the best years of my life. I became the most healthiest I've ever been. I'm doing work I love. I help thousands of people with their health and well-being. I consult organizations. I impact thousands of lives. And the scariest thing about that, okay, is that if I had died from that, I would have missed some of the best years of my life. And that's why I do mental health first aid. Because just like no one needs to die from a broken finger, no one needs to die from a mental health issue. Not if we know what we're doing. And literacy is key.
And this is where, bringing the episode to a close, I want to make sure that anyone that's watched this can benefit from it. So we, as always, will attach the CPD certificate to this video.
Mhm.
So if anybody benefits, they can get recognition for that awareness. All they need to do, fill out the questionnaire, the CPD questionnaire, that lets us know what you've benefited. How has the knowledge that's been shared supported you and those that you either work with, live with, or work with?
That would
And
be really
this is where we really take that knowledge benefit to a new level.
Yeah.
And there is multiple ways that you can get in touch with Richie and with APA, and the support system that collectively is available to employers is off the chart. It really is. And I think, Richie, the fact that we have got that triad of support, that personal responsibility, that professional workspace, and the external support when it's needed, means that we could actually make life-changing impacts every single day to multiple people just by raising that self-awareness.
Absolutely. And those three are so interconnected because everyone's on their different journeys, you know. So if you need to focus on the self-awareness part first, then do so. But if you've gone past that and you're in a good place, then you can start working on the work environment, connect the two. And even when you're there, you know, we have this thing called the mental health continuum, which we move around, you know, and sometimes we do need the external help, and that needs to be there too. So as long as you're going around in that triangle, okay, you're kind of in a safe place because there's always something to fall back on, you know. And this is really important. And just before we sign off, I need to say something really important. A lot of people don't prioritize themselves. They prioritize their work, their family, everything else but them. Okay, and people burn out because of it. I just need to make this quite clear to people. Okay, your mental health is who you are. Your health. In fact, I don't even like to separate the two, physical and mental health, because for me it's just health. Okay, right? And that is your health and well-being is simply who you are. Okay, so when you make an appointment with yourself to do something for yourself, I'm going to go for a jog at 6 p.m. I'm going to read a book. I'm going to have a bubble bath. I'm going to go get a massage. Stop canceling on yourself, because those appointments that you keep with yourself are the most important appointments you'll make that day. Okay. Remember, I always say you are the CEO of your life, the boss of your health. Okay. And now, if you really had an organization, if you were an actual CEO, okay, and you had your own business, would you go into your office and sit there in front of your laptop and say, do you know what I'm going to do today? I'm going to make all the wrong decisions for my business and try to run it into the ground. You wouldn't do that if you had your own business. So please, 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 please stop doing it with your health. And that's my main message here.
And I want to say a massive thank you for your time. As always, it is a pleasure to spend time with you. I want to make sure that everyone gets a chance to get to know you. So the links to mental health and life will be in the description in the episode. And for anybody that's out there, please, please, please know that you can reach out. APA's directory of qualified accredited members is there for you to get that external support if you are ready and when you're ready. The second part of this is know that the community learning platform, with all of the programs that support businesses, community groups, statutory organisations, is there for you to access. Richie's team is part of our collaboration sector, and you can get that support directly from Richie and his team, or from APA into Richie's team. All you need to do is reach out. The support is there. For now, I want to say a massive thank you to everyone for watching, wherever you are, whenever you've had a chance to. Richie, thank you so much, and we'll see everybody again in another episode some point next month.
Thanks for having me.